Commander Zethkar of the Dominion fleet stared at the report streaming across his crystalline display, his four eyes blinking in disbelief. For 3 standard cycles, the mighty Korthak Empire had systematically conquered every human settlement across 12 star systems. Their strategy had been flawless: break the human spirit through overwhelming force, then assimilate the survivors into their labor caste. It should have worked. It had worked on 47 other species. But the humans were different. The first sign of trouble came from mining station Kepler 442b. The human slaves had been forced to work 18-hour shifts extracting rare minerals under brutal conditions. Standard procedure dictated that within 2 months the captives would become docile, accepting their fate. Instead, the humans had somehow turned their suffering into fuel. "Sir," reported Sub-Commander Yilt, his tentacles trembling slightly, "the humans at Kepler 442b have increased their output by 40%. Zethkar's mandibles clicked in confusion. "Increased? That's impossible. Reduce their food rations." We already tried that, sir. They started sharing what little they had. Their efficiency went up another 20%. The reports kept coming. On research station after research station, mining colony after mining colony, the humans exhibited the same inexplicable behavior. The more the Korthak oppressed them, the more determined they became. They created elaborate communication networks using everything from tapped codes to seemingly innocent work songs that carried complex messages. Dr. Sarah Chen, former head of xenobiology at the destroyed colony of New Terra, had become something of a legend among the human captives. Despite being assigned to the most backbreaking labor details, she spent her rest periods teaching other prisoners everything from basic medicine to engineering principles using scraps of metal and debris. "The Korthak thinks suffering breaks us," she whispered to her cellmates one night, her voice barely audible above the hum of the prison ship's engines. "They don't understand that humans have turned suffering into an art form. We've been practicing for millennia." She was right. The Korthak had studied human history, but they had focused on the military defeats, the surrenders, the broken cities. They had missed the essential truth that humanity's greatest victories had always come from its darkest moments. The breaking point came during the 4th cycle of occupation. The humans on Labor Station Proxima 7 had been working to build weapons for the Korthak war machine. The alien overseers had pushed them beyond all reasonable limits, expecting mass casualties and capitulation. Instead, they found something that would haunt the Empire for generations to come. Captain Marcus Webb, a former Earth Defense Force engineer, had been secretly modifying the weapons they were forced to build. Not sabotage, that would have been detected immediately. Instead, he introduced microscopic improvements, tiny innovations that made the weapons more efficient, more deadly. But he had also embedded hidden subroutines in their targeting systems. When the Korthak fleet engaged the rebel forces of the Andorian coalition, something unprecedented happened. The enhanced weapons performed flawlessly, until they didn't. In the heat of battle, the hidden code activated, causing a cascade failure that disabled half the Imperial fleet. But that wasn't the masterstroke. The real genius was what the humans had been preparing during those long, brutal months of captivity. While the Korthak focused on breaking their bodies, the humans had been breaking something far more valuable: the Empire's communication codes. Dr. Chen's background in xenobiology had included extensive study of Korthak neural patterns. Working with other captured scientists and technicians, she had decoded the enemy's encrypted military channels. Every order, every strategic plan, every supply route had been carefully cataloged and transmitted through the human underground network. When the rebellion began, it wasn't just on one world or one station. It was everywhere simultaneously. The humans didn't just escape, they turned the Empire's own infrastructure against it. Supply ships were hijacked, and their contents distributed to enemy forces. Military installations found their security systems compromised. Communication networks carried false orders that sent entire fleets to empty space. Commander Zethkar stood on the bridge of his flagship as reports flooded in from across the Empire. 70% of their human labor force had vanished overnight. Critical manufacturing had ceased. Supply lines were in chaos. But the worst news was yet to come. "Sir," Sub-Commander Yilt announced, his voice barely steady. "We're receiving a transmission. It's from Earth." The view screen activated, revealing a middle-aged human woman in a crisp military uniform. Behind her, Zethkar could see the blue and green planet that the humans called home, the planet the Korthak had believed was completely pacified. "I am Admiral Rebecca Torres of the Earth Defense Force," the woman said calmly. "I believe you have something that belongs to us." Zethkar's blood ran cold. Earth was supposed to be under total occupation. How was this possible? The Admiral continued, "You see, Commander, you made a fundamental error in your assessment of humanity. You assumed that because you could break our bodies, you could break our spirit. You thought that isolation would make us weak." The camera pulled back, revealing the bridge of what appeared to be a massive warship. But the design was unlike anything in the Korthak databases. "What you failed to understand," Torres said with a smile that somehow conveyed both warmth and menace, "is that humans don't break. We adapt, we learn, we remember, and most importantly, we help each other." The transmission ended, but the message was clear. Somehow, impossibly, Earth had not only resisted the occupation but had spent the entire time preparing for this moment. Over the following weeks, the full scope of the human strategy became apparent. The broken slaves had been sending detailed intelligence about Korthak technology, military doctrine, and weaknesses back to Earth through an impossibly complex network of seemingly random activities. The empire that had conquered 47 species in 3 centuries crumbled in less than 6 months. Years later, as Zethkar sat in a human prison, a remarkably comfortable one, he had to admit, he finally understood what they had missed. They had studied human military history, but they had ignored human nature. Humans didn't just endure suffering, they transformed it into strength. They didn't just survive oppression, they turned it into opportunity. And when pushed to their absolute limit, they didn't break. They broke their oppressors instead. The former commander looked out through the transparent aluminum window at the stars beyond, where human ships now patrolled space once controlled by the Korthak Empire. A human guard, noticing his gaze, approached with genuine curiosity. "Penny, for your thoughts?" the guard asked, using an idiom Zethkar had learned during his captivity. "I was thinking," Zethkar replied slowly, "that my people spent so much time learning how to break other species that we forgot to learn what happens when a species refuses to break." The guard nodded thoughtfully. "Well, now you know. The question is, what are you going to do with that knowledge?" As the human walked away, Zethkar contemplated the question. Perhaps, he thought, it was time to learn something new about the galaxy and about the remarkable species that had just rewritten the rules of everything.